Talk and Shop Network makes no apologies for what you're about to hear. The host might, though. It's the $9 Podcast with Drewski. Because moderating for Pro Wrestling's Good Brothers wasn't enough work. Talking wrestling and more. Weekly on all major podcast networks.
Yeah, and we're back. Welcome to another week of the $9 Podcast. Streaming worldwide, wherever you get your podcasts. It's Drewski. Hi, how you doing? It's moderator of the Talk and Shop Patreon. And we go into another week of hilarity. You know, a lot of funny things happening in the wrestling world. You know, I say funny as in a sarcastic way, of course. I mean, just as I was going to start the shenanigans, a little thing came up on my Reddit, on Square Circle Reddit, talking about WWE ticket prices and just how they're continuing to be out of control. Someone posted that they pre-sale for like a couple of WWE Raws happened earlier today, and they're charging. Get ready! They're charging $1,000 for $1,000 plus for VIP, and $800 for seats behind the commentary. $900 for seats on the aisles, right? And the kicker is, the VIP experience used to also include meet and greets. Not anymore. If you want to meet and greet wrestlers as part of the VIP, it's a separate expense to the tune of $700. Okay. I'm going to break this down for a bit. Say you want to take your kid to Raw. You do the VIP experience, $2,000, that's that, $1,000 person. Just for two people, it's like $2,000. We meet wrestlers. That's $3,000. $3,000 for a Raw, for a TV show. That's more than a lot of people pay for, pay for rent for an apartment. I mean, you really have to have your priorities way out of order, or have a trust fund, or you're obscenely rich and don't give a damn, because that's the sort of prices that low and middle class can't really justify. It's like $800 for seats in and of itself is a little bit of little overkill to my mind. But it's like devil's advocate. It's like I last two times AEW's been in town, I've done the VIP, and the VIP's cost me $500, which it admittedly is a lot. Admittedly, it is a lot. Would it be something you could do like every day? No. It's the sort of thing where it's like you save up money for that experience, especially if they come around like once or maybe twice a year. You can justify spending that because you have like save money for that special reason. but you really, have to love the product for that. And there's a market for it, unfortunately. But you hope people start voting with their wallets, and make their reactions, make the reactions a little more heard, because it looks bad. Like, or if you take a family of four and you decide to do like get like seats like that, it's almost the price of a small car just for wrestling. It doesn't compute to people like me, but then again, I'm not the demographic they're aiming for. I haven't been demographic they've been naming for ending for a while, and that's fine. And pretty much the same day, they decided to bring back house shows. There was, for the longest time, for the past couple years, they've sort of like they've tailed off on the house show loops. Claim they are a loss leader, they claim, but there's a trade-off, because there's a detriment to, say, developing talent. If you want to take developing talent on the road and let them learn how to work in front of a live crowd, like in different venues, learn crowd control, learn how learn what works, what doesn't, and try out potential angles that could be applied like for regular TV or pay-per-views in the future, which is what the main purpose of house shows for WWE used to be, like in the 80s and 90s, in the early 2000s. That you would see matches on house shows first, and they basically dress rehearsals for what you'd see like on a pay-per-view, like months later. You see stuff like Undertaker and Sid, like months before they faced off in a WrestleMania for a title. Doing house shows and working that out. Same with Brett and Shawn. House shows first. See if they could get along back then, and go on off the audience reaction. See what works, see what doesn't, and adjust accordingly. Whether the decision was from like on the Triple H side, or they listened to like Cody's input, because Cody's been wanting more house shows. Because he can see it, he still sees it from like an EVP standpoint. It's like how can we get the talent better? How can we improve the product? It's like we need to, the guys need reps, right? So you got new talent you're bringing up from NXT. They need to learn how to work like bigger crowds, because they're used to working in the smaller environment of like NXT studios. And it's a different ballgame. You have to work off the crowd, because the sound travels. Sound of the crowd travels farther. You hear stories about how the Bucks when Young Bucks had to adjust to working them shows at the Tokyo Dome, because they were used to crowd reactions in PWG. It's like they would do a move like in a Tokyo Dome, and whereas it would be in immediate reaction from like the diehards of Reseda, they'd have to wait like 2-3 seconds. It'd be like a 2-3 second delay before there would be a reaction that they could play off of. So they had to learn how to adjust to that. And that's that's a skill. You have to you have to learn to adapt, and having house shows like that will do that. And plus, house shows, the it's, in the past, a whole lot less stress because you're not getting televised. You claim that not going to be televised, but doing WWE, they're going to be filming. They will still be filming stuff just because, and it will be interesting to see if this. It's supposed to be like 10 shows. Starting like in early June, going into mid-July, going into July. It's sort of like will lead up to SummerSlam, and let's see if it's like a one-time thing with experiment. We'll see how ticket sales go in terms of house shows, or to see if there's a demand for more of them, because it's an interesting experiment. Yeah, after so long, it's like and you wonder if such success also will lead to AEW deciding to do house shows, because AEW hasn't really. It's only done like a handful of house shows, if that, in their whole career. They've spent more of their time just making sure that the pay-per-views and Dynamite and Collision are fine, instead of like doing house shows. Because it is a copycat business. Wrestling is a copycat business. It's like if something works, you'll find there will be copying, one side to the other. It can't be helped. It's the same like in the comic book industry. It's like Marvel will do something, then DC will go, hey, that's a good idea. Let's riff off of that, and then they'll go back and forth and back and forth. Basically, competition. And the bottom line is just straight competition. And when I think of competition, it's getting around that time of year in AEW for them to start rolling out the tournaments, and they just announced like that they're gonna start doing the Owen Hart Classic again. Since it's that time of year, and it's interesting. The men's bracket, there's a whole lot of the brackets are basically based on storyline. What's currently going on storyline wise, like on the men's side. The first round match between Samoa Joe and Will Ospreay. Well, it ties into like what Ospreay and the Ops and the Death Riders are doing right now, right? And it's as expected. It is a stacked card. It is a stacked tournament field, but there's such a glut of talents. Like you can make a case for it to be like, instead of an 8-man field, it can be a 16-man field, and it wouldn't drop off in quality. And besides, anytime you have Claudio in a tournament, it's much watch. Yeah, because the man was built for tournaments. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people in the Owen tournament right now that were announced are going to be announced for G1 later on, which would make it huge. In fact, I'd venture to guess to say that there might be G1 announcements at Forbidden Door because of that. But we'll see. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Like on the women's side, the women's side's pretty insane. They announced that Sari is supposedly one of the quarterfinal matches, but she got hurt about a week ago in Stardom, and she said she needs a month off to heal. So her spots may be up in the air. And there might be a replacement coming. Won't know until the match is decided. It'd be interesting to see who they would have in reserve. Is there a chance that it could be a re-debut? Could we see like the return of, like, say, Britt Baker after all this time? It's well, it's hard to say. It's like, I mean, people keep wanting Jay White to come back, but it's been over a year plus, and Jay's been teasing everybody. He's been cryptically teasing coming back, and he hasn't shown up yet. That's because I think they're in a holding pattern with the whole Bang Bang Gang and the dogs for whatever happens after Double or Nothing. In terms of Double or Nothing, Anarchy, the Stadium Stampede with the 7-on-7. It's going to be ridiculous to try and cover all that. With the amount of talent in that match, you could have, especially the Young Bucks teaming with Shelton and Bobby Lashley is very interesting. It's very interesting to me because I would see how they play off. See how they play off of them. I mean, saw like on the latest Dynamite that they did a raucous 5-man with Cage and Cope involved. If you told me 5 years ago they'd be teaming together, in the same company, it's like that's a fever dream of a match, right? And super kick spots with Cope, and I like that Christian can't help himself, can't still a heel. She's not, regardless of whatever's going on in the matches, he's just sticking true to being a heel, which is very admirable. It's very good. It's keeping character going. It has to be. It cannot be understated how much of a barn burner Darby's championship run has been. It hasn't been a championship run so much as a gauntlet. He's gone through he's going through pretty much heavy hitters after heavy hitter after heavy hitter. And his latest one against Takeshita, some of the moves in that match, like Blue Thunder Bomb off the apron to the floor. The avalanche German suplex with the bridge off the top rope. It's probably something that Takeshita has always dreamed of doing, but he couldn't find anybody crazy enough to agree to take the move until Darby said, "Yeah, no problem." Well, of course, Darby would say no problem because Darby has to Darby has to be Darby. And I like that they're teasing that his next opponent is apparently going to be Speedball. That's going to be insane. Next Dynamite, which is going to be very insane. Because As far as match quality, Darby and Speedball have been having an amazing year. So it'd be interesting to see how well their styles work together. Um, it'd be very, very interesting. The return of Brian Cage. Good to see the big man back. Big fan of Big Brian. You know, he's always been sneaky good for they always say they always have the caveat. It's like he's amazing for his size, but it's apt. I mean the man is a mountain. He's not much taller than I am. He's barely 6 foot, but in the bodybuilding world that's pretty tall because most bodybuilders are like 5'3", 5'4", 5'5". Sorry to blow this, blow their cover a little bit, but he's put in the work. He was been out for a year plus with a serious knee injury. I think he had a knee replacement actually, and he's actually in better shape now than he was when he got hurt, which is saying something because the man lives to work out. He's been that way, for 10 plus years, and he's still pulling off the great moves. He's still got the drill claw, and it's said that people love working with Brian because everything looks like it hurts, but it doesn't, and he's considered really safe, and he protects his opponent real well. Yeah, well, it's a holdover from his lucha training, where he was considered a great base for like the luchadors and like Lucha Underground and CMLL and AAA, because he would do that a lot on the independents. He would wrestle like in Mexico a lot, and he hasn't lost that. But where they're going to go with him and his position in Don Callis family in the future is interesting because while he was out, Don Callis was just talking nonstop shit about how he was a meathead and couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And will they come back? Will they circle back around to that? It's something to think about. But it was funny for me to see Sleepy Hoot, one Rocky Romero, come out looking like an extra from Miami Vice. Accompanying Brian Cage to the ring. It's like hats off to Sleepy Hoot. He figured out a way to get on camera almost every week. Sometimes he gets wrecked, but he's keeps getting airtime, so he's doing something right. And the whole angle of MJF about ready to MJF and Darby was well done. It's like the intro alone is a pretty meta thing because you don't realize how many bald guys actually work for AEW until you saw that first 3 to 4 minute backstage. Yeah, they have a lot of them. I don't even think they had most. I think there was only half of them. Half the people that you saw are actually rocking the baldness. Somebody called it like Baldur's Gate. Balders Gate, and it's like, and it's kind of apt. It's kind of apt. It's fun. It's funny. Where it leads match wise, we'll see. We'll see. It's still after all that, it's still like a 50-50 proposition whether or not MJF actually wins the belt back from Darby at Double or Nothing. And that's great. Because they seem like they're laying it on real thick that he's going to lose his hair. And WWE, if it was WWE, they, there's by laying on real thick, it's basically telegraphing, okay, we are going to do it, right? But it depends on how the crowd reacts. I think they might go from there. It might be a coin flip. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see, getting back to like the Stadium Stampede, see what condition Kenny's in. Kenny to agree to do Stadium Stampede. Because a lot of people figured he would be in the Owen tournament. But apparently not. So it'd be interesting to see what the plans are after that. Well, I think they want to see how Kenny feels after doing Stadium Stampede before they run with something. That's just a hopeful guess on my part, right? I'm sure things they'll figure it out. Just like I'm hearing stuff like I'm also hearing stuff about one Mick Foley being courted to come to AEW because his Legends deal apparently runs out in a couple of weeks, and he has intimated, he has said, because of his disagreeing with their politics, that he's done. It's like, he's not gonna sign another Legends deal. So, and he keeps bringing up AEW and Darby in particular, and apparently he's lost a lot of weight. Connect the dots on here, right? Could there be a return of Mrs. Foley's baby boy? Could be. In a perfect world for me, it'd be like, selfishly, he'd be the special referee for like the return of the exploding ring, barbed wire, death match concept for some match in the future. I mean, because who better to ref it than somebody who's been in it, especially a legend like Mick. But we can't really have everything, right? I'm sure. I'm sure things are going to be. They're like in the talking stage. I'm guessing. So I'm not sure if it actually happens or not, but it'd be great if it did. It seriously would. I like what they're doing. The subtle, they've been slowly teasing like the heel turn for one of Jet Speed. It's either Kevin Knight or Speedball. You don't like to see the trope of like tag team guys breaking up over like a belt. But they're so well ingrained. They've actually used like Speedball's vlog to sort of like set things up where they're not turning on each other. It's just that they realize that it's going to happen, and it's like in the spirit of friendly competition. It's like the best man win. They've mentioned it more than once. It's like and it's not the first time they've fought. They've done it a couple times in the Indies, and it's gone over a great deal. It's like, as I've stated before, it's like both Speedball and Kevin Knight have been killing it They've been killing it lately. A lot of the roster has been killing it lately, and I'm just, I'm just, I'm glad to see glad to see progression. I'm glad to see stuff paying off, and it's going to make for an interesting next couple of weeks. Going to lead up to Double or Nothing. Let's put it that way. So in the Hoots world, their travel schedule in the next 3 to 4 weeks would cripple a lot of people. But it's the type of schedule that they're used to, and it's the type of schedule that the Young Bucks would have back in the day. And it's like you have to, going in, there's going to be jet lag. It's going to be mega miles, time zone shifts. Could be potential delays. The possibility of 30 plus hours in the air. And just traveling alone. It's like the boy. As I'm taping this in a couple hours, the boys are working for WSW Wrestling in Australia, and their first show, the 4-show tour, and every show will be live on their WSW YouTube channel, starting about 2:30 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. From my end, for a couple days, not a couple days straight. It's like, because they're in Adelaide today, and then 2 shows show in Melbourne, and then a couple days off, and another show in Sydney, and then the last show in Melbourne, and they fly back. It's like 30 plus hour flight. Bunch of layovers for Machine Gun, and then they have about a day and a half, maybe a day and a half maximum, back home in Florida. And then they have to hop back on a plane, fly another 18 plus hours to Japan for 3 weeks with Pro Wrestling Noah. A day and a half's not really that long for jet lag, to recover from jet lag, especially a flight like that, and then to have to rebound and do another 20 plus, 19, 20 plus hour day flight. Hope that the flight goes well. Hope they don't fuck up the luggage. Hope they, hope that the accommodations are right. Everything's got to be perfect. Because one little thing can throw everything off. And like I said, it's a hard thing for general public to grasp how much travel wrestlers actually do. And props to them for being able to do it. Being allowed to, apply their craft, thousands of miles away from their homes, right? Missing, family functions and stuff. And offer the love of the game. And it's what happens after Japan, because Japan, they're in the global tag league for Pro Wrestling Noah, and there's pretty good chance that they're going to walk out with gold, but kayfabe that. You didn't hear that from me. Yeah, don't let us get back to the people in Japan at NOAA, because the office is very strong on kayfabe on that one. You see how they're doing, and then you see that our friends like Ferg. Ferg ended up on the Stephanie McMahon podcast. Like released, they taped it before the Hall of Fame ceremonies, and it just released like yesterday. And it was in some parts of it was very eye opening to me. I mean, after 20 something, Ferg admitting after 20 something years that he's not really good. He's still not really doesn't think he's good at doing promos, and he's not very comfortable doing them, and which can be a workaround depending on the environment, the wrestling company and their environment, and the philosophy that they work under. It's like if somebody's somebody's uncomfortable doing promos and stuff, that's what you get a spokes guy for, to do all the talking for you, and but for some reason Ferg didn't want that, and Ferg came off like as a very, very humble, very introverted guy, which I can relate to. You have no idea how I can relate to that. And at points it sounded like he was ruminating on whether or not I think it was a quote like something about what purpose do I have here if I can't do a promo? What do you need me for? And it's like, it's a real it's a bit of a weird headspace. Well, at least to me, but some people might react to it differently. I know some of the reaction of some people is like, oh, he sounds like somebody who's gonna leave. But then again, you make jokes about NXT Japan with running NXT Japan with Shinsuke. Just before the podcast turned into like one of Gallows' cryptid podcasts. They started talking about UFOs and pyramids and everything like that. And it's like, because at the end of at the end of this interview, for example, I hate talking about wrestling. Oh, hey, it sounds like the Good Brothers. Whenever I talk about anything else, that's probably one of the reasons why Ferg loves being a guest. Loved being a guest last time he was on Talking Shop, because we're talking about wrestling much. It was like everything else, and I'm sure the wheels are turning. It's like the way, but then the way TKO's been acting, they just see numbers. Everybody, Ferg's about to become like a cap casualty. I'm not hope it doesn't happen, but you never know. Because he's, as he said, he's been in this company for about 13 years now. I think about that, 12, 13 years. He's been doing this for 20 something years. He sees like he doesn't talk about looking back. He's just looking forward. So I'm wondering if he sees the end game in sight, and we shall see. I mean, excuse me. We shall see what the next couple months involve, because I have no idea. I can only speculate, and I don't want to be in the speculating business. There's about 250 plus other wrestling podcasts that they're in the speculating business. A lot of them, do it just because. Some people do it because it drives reaction, and it drives numbers to their sites, and they don't really have a true opinion. They just want clicks, and they'll say anything to up their profiles. As far as profiles go, it's like this humble podcast is finally worldwide as of yesterday. I know. I'm just as shocked as you are. Made the decision like about a day or two ago, because I've been waiting for a good couple of weeks to be introduced on the Talking Shop Network as as a as like a guest, or like guest hosting like a Talking Shop Live, to like introduce me to the masses. And with with the boys, with the Hoots being I detailed their travel itinerary for the next couple of weeks. It's like I'm sort of low. I'm definitely low on the priority list. I understand that, because so there's a chance that there's a pretty good chance that my debut wouldn't have happened for at least another month. And I'd rather have it get this stuff out there than have to wait another month, because to me that's torture. Because I'm all about the weekly. I'm trying to be consistent, because technically this will be the second one the masses have heard, but this is the 42nd podcast I've done overall, and I just want to be it's a brave new world for me, right? Because now I'm on Apple Podcasts, I'm on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Deezer and Pandora, about 20 different other sites. I'll be able to start making actual money off of this, doing this, because of it. Because I'm, after like a certain number of downloads of this episode, I'll be able to start having ads, and reading ads, and basically become a shill, and be a shill and get paid for it. And that's it's still new new territory for me. You learn by doing, and because you want to see the progression of where I am. I have the YouTube channel. It's like youtube.com/$9 podcast, where you can watch the journey of this endeavor from it's from its duct tape together beginnings to now. You could see the progression coming on slowly but surely. Yeah. I hope that for some reason seeing my journey doing this inspires people to get out of their comfort zone and do something like this. I can't thank Gallows and machine gun enough for like taking the chance and letting me do this. Yeah, and I can only hope to keep keep them. I can only hope to try and be better at this every week. And if you have like, if you have questions about the show, if you have potential topics you want to talk, should bring up, and it's like criticisms, hey, whatever. Just, email this old fossil at the $9podcast@yahoo.com. And if you want to support your boy, you want to support me, because some of the, I know be like a subscription thing for Apple Podcasts apparently set up. I'm not really sure of that yet, but until that end, I have a merch site. It's like the $9podcast.dashery.com, where you can support me, and like some of the support them. Anything I make goes back into the show and try to make things better. Try to try to put the boys over as much as possible, because they give me a chance to do this. And the Patreon that I actually help out with is patreon.com/talkandshop. Thriving community. We're always good with new, happy to show the new members around. Interesting a lot of topics, a lot of ball busting. Like I said before, that's should be, it's par for the course. But what do you want to do? It's a lot better than a lot of places, and it's incredible that I can get this platform to do this kind of thing. And I hope I haven't bored you that much, because again, like Ferg, I tend to overanalyze stuff, and get in my own head a bit when it comes to this stuff. So thanks for playing along. It's like I hope to I hope next week this doesn't dissuade you from guys coming back next week and listening to more stuff. So but thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the $9 Podcast. Support the show by going to the $9 Podcast or going to patreon.com/talkandshop to dive headlong into the insanity. See you next week.